want to give a big shout out to Jack Dorsey, I believe is his last name, who announced epically that Twitter is banning all political ads. How cool is that?
Very interesting.
He said a political message earns reach when people decide to follow an account for retweet. Paying for each removes that decision, forcing highly optimized and targeted political messages on people. I'm not reading all this. I'm over it.
But basically what he's saying, which I like that he's saying, this isn't about free speech, because I hate that all these companies like Facebook always, their big excuse is like, oh, it's free speech. We don't want to harm free speech.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this isn't
No,
free
you just
speech.
want money, idiot.
It's not free expression or whatever.
Well, and first of all, it's a private company, and second of all, well, here's the difference is if you take out an ad on broadcast, like let's say CNN, and there has to be some truth in advertising. For example, I have this clip of AOC asking the Zuck, for example, here. I mean, I thought this was a very telling moment.
Ads targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Would I be able to run advertisements on Facebook targeting Republicans in primaries saying that they voted for the Green New Deal? I mean, if you're not fact-checking political advertisements, I'm just trying to understand the bounds here. What's fair game?
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. I think.
So you don't know if I'll be able to do that?
I think probably.
I don't think you could do that on broadcast to just outright like smear somebody. She says, could I target a Republican and say he voted for the Green New Deal, which obviously is to them like, targeting a liberal and saying they voted to make abortion illegal or something similar to that, I would imagine. And if it's just patently false, then, I mean, does the platform have a responsibility to control that messaging? Because right now, I think we are in the middle of a information crisis, and that's what Jack talks about. He says here,
I don't know if you're right, though. I think that you could run it on television and other places.
I don't think so.
I think that is part of the conversation.
No, the part of the conversation is that on social media, there's no auditing, there's no verification, and people are just taking it all at face value. If you go to a major broadcasting network and try to run an ad like that, they're going to say no because it's an outright lie, and I think there are truth in advertising laws.
It gets really tricky with political ads. There are, but the FCC has a very light touch with that kind of stuff because they don't want to appear partisan. But what you just said is correct. The stations generally, they'll refuse to air an ad if it's just like
you can't just be like
that's bullshit.
You can't just run an ad and be like
And Zuckerberg's stance is
Donald Trump attended a Nazi rally, and I mean it's like you know what I mean,
right?
And so Facebook doesn't have that. They don't care. And Jack very wisely said, internet political ads present an entirely new challenge to civic discourse. Machine learning-based optimization of messages and micro-targeting, unchecked misleading information, and deepfakes, all at increasingly velocity, sophistication, and overwhelming scale. This isn't about free speech. This is about paying for reach, and paying to increase the reach of political speech has significant ramification that today's democratic infrastructure may not be ready to handle. It's worth stepping back in order to address. I mean, how cool is that? That's so nice. I think that he's putting our democracy ahead of Twitter's earnings. And, when you see little bitch boy Zuck here, who's like, he's doubling down. I mean, here, let's see. A little more after an hour of Jack announcing that they'll no longer run political ads, Facebook doubles down, says Google, YouTube, and most internet platforms run these same ads. Most cable networks run these same ads. And, of course, national broadcasters are required by law to run them by FCC regulations. I think there are good reasons for this. In a democracy, I don't think it's right for private companies to censor politicians or the news. And although I've considered whether we should not carry these ads in the past, and I'll continue to do so, on balance so far, I've thought we should. Well, here and then to follow that up again, it's like she says, well, if you're outright
Understand the
lying,
bounds here. What's fair game?
Congresswoman,
I mean, it's a clear and present danger. I think in terms of we have a issue of information. There's too much information. A lot of people don't know what's real, what's false. It's super hard to know what's real, what's false. And when people are exploiting that, as Jack said, you have algorithms in real time crunching data, manipulating people to.
That's why
it's just not real.
I can't stand when Mark is trying to defend it with free speech because it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it's not really speech. It's really just like large scale manipulation.
I think Jack Dorsey explained it like when you follow someone and then you see their feed, that's free speech. But when someone is paying for reach, you're gonna see something that is not something
natural.
you would have. It's not natural. Yeah. They're paying for reach, so it's not. There's nothing like free speech about it.
He said, free speech and paid speech are not the same thing. Our current policies on fact-checking people in political office or those running for office are a threat to what Facebook... Oh, yeah. Employees of Facebook are now rebelling. 250 employees of Facebook wrote a letter to the Zuck asking him to change his policy. They're concerned that Facebook is a place for free expression, and they worry that the policies will undo the work that has been done since 2016 election to fight misinformation. Free speech, they said, and paid speech are not the same thing. Our current policies on fact-checking and political office and those running for office are a threat to what Facebook stands for. After the recent controversy over Facebook's political ad policy, where Zuck essentially has said that politicians can literally lie in advertisements on the platform, the company is getting pushed back internally, was signed by 250 employees who are now unemployed. Sucks, put them in the meat grinder.
I'm the meat chef.
Now,
he smoked them like a meat.
On the contrary, like the argument against Dorsey's decision is saying that removing a major source of low-cost political advertising from Twitter harms those who don't yet have a large audience but are looking for an inexpensive way to reach votes and identify new supporters. So
I don't buy that.
Some people think that's the reason why it should be allowed.
Dude, that is such a minor consequence of I feel like nobody actually thinks that.
Yeah.
It's so great. He said, no political ads. It's the only way you can do this. He even said no single policy ads either. Like if it's a single issue of like gay marriage was a big one or whatever, gun rights, marijuana, stuff like that. No political ads. The only political ads they're allowing are to get people to register to vote. That's the only ones they allow. I think it's fantastic. I think that it's become too sophisticated, too manipulative, that these platforms are posing too great of a threat to the information exchange of knowing what's really going on. And I think these kinds of debates and conversations need to be happening not on social media. And I applaud that move. And I think Mark Zuckerberg is a sociopath. I think he may be a psychopath. He certainly is placing the value of Facebook above the welfare of the entire world at large. I think that the dude is super rich and he's got like a $30 haircut. I don't know why. The dude likes to smoke meats, and he's going to end up smoking civilization if he doesn't get his shit together.
Yeah. Good smoky flavor.
Such a weirdo.
So I do have to say I went and looked up the rules, and it's true that what he says, TV networks they aren't allowed to reject ads because they find it objectionable or misleading. Like the rules against false advertising and that kind of stuff, which is probably what you're thinking of, do not apply to political ads. So basically, yes, you could
That's what
air
I was saying.
a lie on TV as well, the same way that you can on Facebook.
I feel like there's got to be more to that. I mean, we're not experts on this field, but
We're
there's
not
gotta be more to
experts,
it.
but I don't think that it's perfect on TV.
I'm reading a
It's
whole write-up
not.
about it right now.
No
and
way.
yeah, I mean,
There's
it's-
got to be way. There's got to be more regulation than on on Facebook. You can literally. You can say. I mean, there's crazy conspiracies like that circulated on Facebook that like Hillary Clinton is a child molester, and like a lot of people believe that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can run that on Fox News.
Well, stuff like that. I mean, you're right. They would probably deem that inappropriate. And you got to understand too that there's a distinction between what a candidate can put out and then what like these PACs, which are sort of these kind of gray area independent.
It's all PACs.
Political, right? And so the laws don't apply to PACs. Like the laws saying like you can't censor a politician's ad. So
there's got to be.
well, that, I mean,
Google it. It's and
I'm
I'm
looking at it
saying
right
what
now.
he's saying.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
so
government,
what you're
the government prevents from censoring political ads.
censoring, but that doesn't mean I can run an ad saying that Elizabeth Warren, drinks the blood of children.
Yeah,
I think you
but
could if honestly, I think that you could.
because it gets hard to decide what is false. What makes it false.
What makes it false?
Yeah.
That she drinks the blood of children?
Okay. Well, I'm trying to
We
make
need to
a
get it. We need
serious
to get it.
argument.
No, I understand, but I
It was
just
something that
you don't
to-
see the level of shit on
But
television.
something to a Republican would look right, to a Democrat would look like a lie.
You
So
don't,
it's hard
no,
to.
That's what you see on Facebook is like coordinated, intelligent, algorithmic. What they're doing is serving it on such a granulated level where they go.
Yeah, so it's more complicated and it's different.
It's
but,
deadly.
But we're talking about the point that you said that on TV you won't see fake ads. You do.
I think okay.
It's different. They don't have the smart algorithm like social media does.
I think the
That's
difference is again. I mean
Can't be
that seems
micro-targeted in that
overly
same way.
simplistic. I have a hard time believing that I could run an ad saying Elizabeth Warren drinks baby blood.
If you are the candidate, like if you are running for governor or whatever, and you run and you want to pay for an ad that says that your opponent in the race, has sex with animals or something, you could do that.
And but not a PAC is what you're saying?
A PAC couldn't do it on your behalf, right?
So I think on Facebook you have organizations, not the candidate, who are
Right. I
running
mean, most
ads.
of these ads are coming from PACs, like you said.
Yeah, so on Facebook you go, in Kansas it's this small subset of males who follow this page in this city get really activated when they see that Elizabeth Warren drinks baby blood.
Right.
But you're
And this-
using like really extreme language, but it's
that's
not
what's
like
going
that.
on in Facebook.
Okay, but on television, it's not like that. It's not just black or white. It's like I'm just reading now. Like how in commercials they can use like language that may suggest something but doesn't say it necessarily. Like like the top brand of laundry, it doesn't say we're number one, but it's a language that will imply that they're number one. So
Fine. That's
they
fi-
do the same
Yeah,
thing.
okay, there's misleading ads, but the level of shit you see that's coming from Facebook is another level. And like what Dan said, okay, if you put your candidate's face on the television, you say Elizabeth Warren fucks animals, and say this message, and my name is George Bush, and I approve this message, right? That's different than some anonymous PAC that's just running all this straight up slanderous shit. On Facebook, that's happening, and they're so good at doing it that they are literally affecting what people see as real.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Hillary
That's
Clinton.
why
And
I agreed that it needs a different treatment.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think Zuckerberg is purposely taking advantage of the fact that these things are very complicated
Yeah.
and most people don't have a grasp on it. I mean,
He's definitely.
we haven't even gotten into. There's distinction between broadcast networks, like NBC, ABC, the low stations versus cable. Like there's distinctions between those things too. So there's like a lot of layers to
He's
this.
playing
and it's
it
all
dumb.
very confusing.
Yeah.
He's definitely playing dumb.
But and that only goes to show how much money he makes from that, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah,
if this
for
was
sure.
just a couple $1 million or even 10, 20 million bucks,
Yeah.
he wouldn't give a shit. He would take the good PR and he would cancel the whole thing. But how much money is actually, all this dark money is flowing into Facebook? Because they go, well, I can't run this shit on Fox News, but if I go on Facebook, I can basically, it's like the Cambridge Analytica shit. They're like, I can reach I can literally change the election on Facebook with 50 million bucks. They're making so much money off this shit.
They're making so much money, and all those people that say, "Oh, it's silly," Facebook ads aren't swinging an election or whatever. They wouldn't be spending this kind of money on it if it didn't have an impact.
And
It absolutely
Zuck
does have an
wouldn't
impact.
be taking this bad PR if it was that little money.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, they're probably making money like you couldn't even guess. They're probably making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's just crazy.